This crowd here is also Gafdaws. I painted these, and I painted the Space Pirates we just looked at. You'll notice that they're kind of shinier. I gave them sort of a semi-gloss finish, both to protect the paint and give them kind of a more pulpy look. I like the way these guys turned out quite a bit. I kind of concentrated on uniform details as best I could. I'll be the first to say I'm not that great of a painter, but I put some time in on these and did trim. Kind of worked it out as like sort of a sand colored tunic and pants with sort of a adobe colored epaulets and helmet and trim and boots. And it gives it kind of a nice sort of, well, you know, this is kind of a desert force or something. I'm not sure what I'm going to call them. I'm thinking of calling them the Legion of Titan because they're really big looking against other figures, that I'm even in from the same manufacturer. But so I'm going to sort of explain that as they come from Jupiter, where the gravity's really quite heavy, and they have to develop like a heavy musculature and height to compensate for the crushing gravity. I love these when they get painted up. They just have a ridiculous amount of silliness to the helmet and the weapons and whatnot. I like the heavy weapons team here. What's the green sphere? I don't explain it. It's just I wanted to do something other than like gunmetal color. So a big pulsing green sphere that gets replaced in the middle of the gun somehow to make it fire boomy stuff. And that guy in the back that's actually he's got some reloads in his backpack here. So we can't really see that in this light. So you can see that he's there to sort of service the weapon. This is the commander. He's obviously a veteran. He's lost one of his legs, or at least from the knee down. And he's got some sort of sword. Maybe it's ceremonial, maybe it's not. And you got a kind of a comms guy. Now there are units that are cast sort of as communications or technicians in a lot of these factions that I'm looking at tonight, and there'll be a reason why I wanted to get these, and I'm going to get into them presently. Anyway, these are the Legion of Titan. Just another playable faction in the skirmish game. Okay, and we're back. Here is, I don't really have a good faction name for them yet, but they're clearly based on the sadistic troops of the Emperor Ming from Flash Gordon. I love their finny hats. They're from Wargame Supply Dump. I painted them kind of with sort of these standard issue blue trousers, sort of buff gloves, and a maroon tunic with brass buttons, and a big sort of brassy style hat with a green visor. There are several really cool poses. I like the energy on these guys. I like their basic size, which matches the Gafdaws and other figures that I have really nicely. They've got a heavy weapons team. And if you look at the front guy on the heavy weapons team, he's got some sort of device in front of him. I'm going to make it that the heavy weapons team has like a technician guy, and he can communicate with other folks or other factions or whatnot, because he's got some sort of comm gear. Obviously, that fella in front of us is modeled on the Emperor Ming from the Flash Gordon series. Now, Wargame Supply Dump was unfortunately out of the Flash Gordon analog and the Dale Arden analog and the Professor Zarkov analog. And the Prince, whatever his name was, Baron analog too. So I just made do with what I had. I could get my hands on. These guys are going to be a faction, a playable faction, and they're going to be pretty tough fighters and very heavily armed. So, plus the ability to communicate. We'll get into that. Okay, here's some individual characters that, well, I'm going to... The ones on the right are also from Gafdaz, and they're sort of undead spacemen that have been brought to life by some either contagion or some other sort of chicanery or eldritch wizard or whatever excuse, blah, 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 you want to come up with. I'm going to use these guys as a random event, just have them walking around the station trying to attack people. They're kind of hard to kill because they're already dead. So that's them. This guy I'm going to call the Robot Master. He has the ability to command robots within a certain distance of him. I do have some robots. I'm probably going to end up getting more. And this guy is the closest thing I got to like a Flash Gordon character. I kind of dig the football style hat and gloves, and the goggles and the sort of brassy looking ray gun pistol. All of these are painted by John Montree. I will probably go over them with a light gloss coat just to get them to sort of standardize to the other things that I've done. Probably these two here on the left are going to be individual characters if people want to play them. I'm going to make Flash as kind of a troublesome no-good-nick or do-good-nick that tries to like free the slave drones or do something and get involved in a storyline somewhere. And the Robot Master could go around causing havoc by shanghaiing robots. Anyway, that's individual characters and little random event dudes. Here are two space station security cyborgs. Basically, I'm looking at them as kind of alien beings that have put their brain and some minor sensory organs encased in these giant robot bodies. The character that plays the Robot Master, as well as people with comm gear, might be able to give these guys orders. They're not robots per se, but they do have many robot subsystems in them. So they could conceivably, for a little while, be convinced to do things like shoot the wrong person. Anyway, these are also old Ral Partha Shadowrun figures that were rather hulkingly large. I got them from a bulk metal bin at the Ironwood Metals booth at one of our HMGS conventions. And they painted up real nice. That was me. I made them shiny too. And they've got a big old gun. And they're designed just basically to be a random event or a spoiler in the skirmish game. There's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. We're going to... Wait a minute. I got one more faction to go. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut this out. And we will resume with the faction that I don't know quite what I'm going to call them yet, but they look kind of boss. Okay, I'm going to call this faction the Earthmen, because they're kind of more slender and tinier. But not that guy on the left. He's obviously not from Earth. These guys here are from the three on the right with the bubble helmets are from it's like Old Glory's line of science fiction. 28mm retro looking spacemen. There are more in the series I'm going to buy. I don't know if I'll have them ready for camp in time, but I really like the way these painted up a lot. And this guy here is by the same company who does War Rocket, which I'm painting up now. He kind of fits with these guys, so they're going to be part of the faction. This guy over on the left is one of the North Star Rogue Star characters. I really like the way this is sculpted. It's basically a big dumb robot with a pillow on it that kind of walks around with this tiny little alien overlord, crime lord guy who's like smoking a hookah. I thought that is a badass sculpture, and it's going to be a cool part of any game. So probably he'll be a single character, and we'll probably pair him up with like a big broody looking dude, or probably with these guys, because they don't really fit any other group of people that I've got in my collection right now. So as soon as I'm done with them, I'll probably put them all together. Anyway, those are the smaller characters that I kind of had to push up on their bases a bit to make them sort of fit the height thing. Not so much with the bubble-headed guys, because they've got a height boost from their space helmets. But other than that, those are kind of the Earthmen and an occasional alien. Here's some very recent additions to the collection. Like very recent. I think I painted it up last week. I got these from Brother Vinny. I think he's Russian. It's a he like specializes in resin cast science fiction stuff, roughly 28 scale. This is really for a post-apocalyptic line that he's got, but I really love these robots and probes and things. Yeah, if you've ever played the game Fallout, you've probably seen robots like these, or something that looks like that, and something that looks like that. It's very clear where the visual inspiration is for these, but I don't mind. They look extraordinarily rad. Okay, last group of the video. I'm not sure what I'm going to call these guys yet. I can call them the Blue Faces. They were designed to be somewhat humanish, but they kind of remind me of a Japanese flying saucer movie from the 60s, and that guy had a blue face, and it actually looks much cooler with blue than it did with flesh tone. I repainted their faces just the other day. Most of these were me. A couple of them are from John Montre. And I liked, I had a previous version of a lot of these figures at my house, which is being worked on and rebuilt right now. So a lot of that stuff got packed away and is inaccessible. So I've had to kind of repaint and purchase a bunch of these figures. And these are one of those. The original paint job I think John did, and it was kind of like a blue-gray uniform, human-looking kind of figure. And I thought, why go that way? Let's make them kind of more unique-looking, and that's why I went with the blue face. I really like John's concept of a black uniform with white cross belts. It's minimalist, and then I gave the black uniform kind of like bolt gun metal armor, like armor plating here and there, to sort of represent this alien version of an armored suit that is easy to move in. And of course we've got the standard effete officer with purple cape. Of course that seems to be a theme with me. And I like the big finny helmets. That's straight out of like an old Republican science fiction movie serial from like the 30s or 40s. And that is going to be another playable faction in the game. I'll probably come up with a cool name for them. I just haven't thought about it yet. There's 7 guys in this one, so that's a lot of firepower. Probably going to dominate the game. I don't know. I'll just call them the Blue Baddies or something. Anyway, that is it for my Pulp Science Fiction holdings as of today. I may, if I'm really, really lucky and I can get in contact with the fellow who used to run Wargame Supply Dump, I'm going to be able to probably buy more Space Pirates females, and I want more of those Emperor Ming troops. I might even get more of those Lizard Men. Just basic trooper types. I'd like to fill out the roster with a lot more guys, because I could see running Pulp Science Fiction games in the foreseeable future. It's just sort of a fun, slap-happy kind of genre that nobody seems to be doing a lot with right now. And I want to do something with it. Anyway, that's it for the collection. I'm going to try and put all this stuff together in a coherent movie. So stay tuned.